Hey guys, Humans for Targets. I just wanted to do a video here and let you guys know why I like the older Smith&Wesson revolvers better than I do the new versions. And before I do that, let me first start out by telling you that my dog's getting sick. Hang on. Be right back. Okay, got that all taken care of. Anyway, what I wanted to say first of all was I have some newer Smiths like this one, and if you have some newer Smith&Wesson revolvers, I am not in any means or way saying that they're junk or that there's anything wrong with them. There's just a few things that I personally prefer that was on the older models, that the way they used to make them. Number one, the first thing that I really dislike about the new models is the lock they put right here. This is a hole drilled completely through the side plate of the gun. I've never even used that. I never will use it. Some people call it the lawyer lock. It's just something that they can write down on paper, and it may look good on paper, but it really does nothing in the real world. I don't know of anybody that uses that. Now, I have heard of a couple of cases where someone was firing a revolver and the lock turned and activated the lock and the gun was rendered useless. But luckily it was at the range, not in a self-defense situation. It's never happened to me. So that's the first thing. You'll notice that if you see older Smith & Wessons, a lot of people will label them pre-lock. They're starting to get a premium price for those. Okay, next, the hammer and the triggers are made different than what they used to be. What they use back pre-5 Smith & Wessons were forged steel, forged hardened steel triggers and hammers. And those were taken through a process after they were forged and they were hardened. They were taken through a process and they were treated. And after they were treated, they got what was called case colors. And I'll put up a couple pictures right now that'll show you some of the old style triggers and hammers with the case coloring. Those were the old style triggers and hammers that had the case coloring. The case coloring was to allow the surface to take a lot more wear and abuse than what it normally would. It was just an extra step in the process. Those parts were also hand fitted to the gun, the hammers and the triggers, which they are no longer, and I'll let you know why here in a minute. What they do now for the trigger and the hammers is they use a process called MIM. That stands for metal injection molded. What happens is they take powdered metal and they heat it up to a very high temperature. And of course it's in a mixture with other types of metals. They heat this to a very high temperature. When it gets to a certain temperature, it forms what they call a slurry. That slurry is then shot at high pressure into a mold. Inside the mold is where it forms the shape of the trigger and the hammer. And then it's taken out of the mold and cooled down, and then it can be used. Well, there's a couple of things, as you can see here. See the back of this trigger here? How it's got that groove cut in from the mold? The triggers weren't like that before. Now, they always had this little slot up here, because that goes inside the gun. That had to have a cut right there. But this right here, if you can see it, I hope you can, that's from the mold. The triggers used to be flat. There was no stamping like that before in the triggers. And as you can see, there's no case colors on this trigger. It's pretty much like an aluminum, even though it's not aluminum. But it's pretty close. The problem with MIM parts is if they ever break, there's never a warning. They just snap right in two. And the same with the trigger, or with the hammer here. It's MIM part. Now I'll show you something on the hammer. Hopefully I can get in close enough with this. Hopefully you can see it. Right in the center of the spine of this hammer is a fine line that goes all the way up here. It goes underneath and up the back here. That is from the mold, that little line. Well, it's cheaper for them to do this MIM process, and they can keep the tolerances so tight that they no longer have a guy hand fit the triggers and the hammers. And I don't know how that equates to quality control, but the more time I feel that somebody is, working on the gun and hand fitting it, that's the way I would like it to be. Personal attention to the guns. And it's just the way they used to do things at Smith&Wesson. Just so much have changed, and they cut corners and they want to try to save money while keeping their prices up, but yet cutting corners to save money on other things. I'll probably never have a problem with this trigger or this hammer. But I like the old style better. You will know the old style when you see it from now on, anytime you look at these guns. Case coloring treatment that they do to make it to the old style hammers and triggers, it makes it more, it won't show wear as fast, it makes it more durable, and the finish holds up a lot better and longer than it would normally. Well, it makes like a like if you turn it a certain way, like a little rainbow effect, kind of like gasoline on pavement, how it looks like a purple and a greenish. Well, the old style hardened forged triggers had this case coloring on them. And you can see even revolvers going way back 30, 40, 50 years, the case coloring is still holding up on the trigger. It's amazing that it can last that long and still be going strong. And that's what I prefer on my Smith&Wessons. And I kind of wish they would go back to the way things were, but if they would, I'm sure the prices would increase to where they wouldn't be affordable anymore. But I just wanted to kind of give a little rant and let you guys know about a couple of the things that have changed that I don't like concerning Smith&Wesson revolvers. So maybe it'll help you guys when you're out looking in the market at used stuff, or if you have something used that you'd like to sell, you can kind of play with price a little bit. It's a pre-lock and it's got the older style trigger and hammer. You can get a little bit better price than what you normally would on those Smiths, because they just don't make them anymore. So let me know what you guys think, and let me know if you anybody has any of the older style Smith&Wesson revolvers. And okay, that's about it for this video. And next video, I should be taking my Humans for Targets Glock to the range and shooting it, and I'll do some filming and let you guys see how it does. So alright everyone, this is Humans for Targets, and I'm out.